Today is Saturday, October 17th, and welcome back to another episode of Chatter from the Cheapseats. I'm your host, Jack Feldman, alongside my co-host, Sammy Crimstein and Oree. And we are thrilled to be here to provide you guys with all the great sports news from this past week, because there has been a lot of it.
Oh, yeah.
And we are excited to get into it, so let's just do it. Sammy, how you doing?
I'm doing very good. If you're watching on YouTube, I have a little bit of a different setup today. That is because tonight, as we record, it is Game 7 between the Astros and the Rays, which we'll be talking a little bit about that whole series and the game that's going on right now. But I got to watch this game. It's a must-see, so I rearranged my setup, and now I'm watching the game. So I'm doing good. Oree, how you doing?
Doing good. Came back from a game today where I played really well, but I got hit by a pitch, and I'm like limping around my room. So,
Oh, well, where'd you get hit?
I got hit it's behind my kneecap, but like on the bone. So like the side of my leg, like it really hurts. But yeah, whatever. Hopefully we'll be good for tomorrow because I got more playoff games. So.
Oh yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Other than that, I've been chilling. How you been, Jack?
Well, what time is your games tomorrow, your playoff games?
I got a game at 9:30.
Ooh.
So you'll be able to make our games?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I'll be a little late to game 1, but
yeah. Okay. So yeah, I've been doing good. Very entertaining night. You got obviously the Rays and the Astros game 7. You also have Georgia Bama, which is a huge football game, and then I'm a Florida State fan, so you have Florida State versus North Carolina, and Florida State is currently whooping North Carolina, who is the number 5 team in the country. So that's good news for me. But I've just been chilling. I had practice today. I played pretty good, which is nice. But, let's just get straight into it because there's so much sports news from this past week.
We have a lot to talk about. Incredible.
So let's start off with the ALCS. Will the Astros become the first team since the 2004 Red Sox? That's a tough topic for me to come back from down 3-0. Now, here's why I think not. And the Astros are currently losing 3-0 in the second inning.
Yep.
However, I wrote all my notes down beforehand. So, you can call me whatever you want. You can call me Monday morning quarterbacking a little bit, but I promise you that I have had all these opinions written down before the first pitch was thrown. So, the Rays have Charlie Moore in Tyler Glass now in their good bullpen, so their pitching will be set all game. However, the Astros do have all the momentum. However, to get to Game 7, they had to use Framber Valdez, who is their best pitcher in Game 6, and also they've used Ryan Presley, who is their best reliever. They've used him 3 games in a row. So, will he pitch 4 games in a row? Quite possibly. However, will he be effective? That's a different story. And I saw something very interesting floating around Twitter and just the sports world in general. So one of the New York talk show hosts brought up, is the Astros winning good for baseball? And before you get fired up here, because I totally disagree with this, let me just explain to you his point. He said that people are talking about it. If it was a A's ALCS, it would not be getting the attention that it is now with the Astros in it and Carlos Correa and all the drama. And it is bringing attention to the sport, and it's kind of going from the no public or all publicity is good publicity standpoint in a way, but also just it makes for a compelling matchup. And part of me wants the Astros to win. Part of me does. For me, as a Yankee fan, it's a no-win situation because I hate the Rays and I hate the Astros.
Jack's just a little salty at the Rays.
Yeah, he's just salty at the Rays.
I am, and let me be perfectly clear. I hate the Astros way more than the A's, or way more than the Rays. That's 100% true. However, there is a little part of me that if the Dodgers can pull off the upset, or not upset, but come from behind victory in the NLCS, which we will be covering a little bit later, if it's an A's, or if it's, let's say, a Rays-Braves World Series versus an Astros-Dodgers World Series, you would pick the Astros-Dodgers World Series 100% of the time. That is the way more compelling matchup. So I just thought that was an interesting point, and I just want to hear your guys' takes on it.
Well, yeah, and you were talking about the Astros and that take, how it would be good for baseball. And it reminds me, I was watching It's either last night or this morning after Game 6 when the Astros avoided elimination again. And it was on MLB Network, I think it was Greg Amsinger, and he was saying the Astros are a likable team.
Okay.
Now, that was taking it a little bit too far, and I know we're not at Jack's dumb Twitter take, which that's not on Twitter, but I think that could have been a very valid candidate because, I mean, as much as, you try to forget about the cheating scandal, you can't. It tarnished the game of baseball, like we've said, like everyone said, and it's entertaining to watch, sure, but it's like, you still hold your grudges, and that's kind of where I am with the Astros. But just with this series, I guess, in general, this game, I mean, before I was kind of leaning towards the Astros with Game 7, my concern was Lance McCullers, having a rough outing, which right now we're in the bottom of the third, and that's kind of what it's looking like. We got some runners on as it is. It's already 3-0. It's not how you want to start a game as a pitcher. And out of the bullpen, the Astros are not the strongest team in the world. They can get it done offensively. I mean, they've had some guys absolutely mashing. Altuve, as much as we all probably hate him now, in this ALCS entering Game 7, 455, 3 home runs, 5 RBIs in between Altuve, Correa, and George Springer. Those guys are 65% of their RBIs this series. They've really been mashing, and as much as we hate them, got to acknowledge that.
You got to give them a little respect for that.
You do,
and Sammy,
and
I'm just a little bit curious on something that you just said, and I just want to ask you why. And obviously, his outing hasn't gone. I mean, he can still salvage it. So 3 runs, you can still salvage that into a quality start. However, it looks like you're going to be right so far. However, we don't know yet. The game's still early. But what made you think that Lance McCullers was going to have a bad start? Were there any statistics on his stat line that would make you think? Because in his year, he's had a 3.93 ERA, which isn't great, but it's not terrible. It's like a solid 4th starter, 3rd starter. And I mean, I don't know. He's a guy that's been there before. He's been in these big spots before. So what kind of jumped out at you, maybe in his stat line or just something that you noticed that would make you think that he would have a bad start?
Well, Lance McCullers this year has been very on or off. And he's on or he's off. And that's kind of why I was a little shaky because, if he's on Game 7, I mean, earlier this year, I think we're actually recording when that happened, he was carrying a no-hitter into like the 6th or 7th inning. He's very on or off, and that's my concern. When you're going into a Game 7, you want all reliable. You want someone you can 100% count on to get you at least 5-6 innings, keep you maybe under 2-3 runs. McCullers isn't that guy. I mean, he has some starts where he goes 6-7 innings, 1 or 2 runs. Then he has some starts where he doesn't even go 4 and he gives up almost 5 runs. He's all over the place, and that's not the guy you want in Game 7. Absolutely not. I think the Rays, almost all of their guys, all their starters are reliable. I mean, just their top 3, Snell, Morton, Glasnow. I think I'd be confident putting any of those guys out Game 7. You have Morton, it just timed up that way, and so far he's been pitching very well. I have complete confidence in him. McCullers, not so much. He's very shaky.
Yeah, I kind of want to go back to your point, Jack, when you were talking about how the Astros are great for baseball, or like how you were quoting the guy.
I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah, not you. You were quoting someone who said that, right? Yeah. So I tend to – it's kind of interesting because obviously the cheating scandal was horrible and it's not good for baseball, but the publicity that
it brought
baseball is getting is very, very good because when it comes to baseball, it's a sport that's obviously losing popularity in some areas. And I feel like this has really ignited another interest in the sport because there's more of a storyline to it. And it's really interesting you bring up Rays versus Braves or Dodgers versus Astros as a more kind of interesting World Series. I tend to think that the Astros-Dodgers is obviously going to be a ridiculously entertaining series, although I don't want it to happen just because I really don't want the Astros to win. If the Dodgers end up beating the Astros, that would really make it would really cap off the 2020 MLB season in a great way. And I think everyone would be happy except for maybe like 5 Astros fans.
The Astros have a pretty large fan base. I think you got to
I think they lost
give
some.
them
I think they lost some. But
I don't know.
my point is that would be the more entertaining series. But I think you're kind of sleeping on this Rays versus Braves scenario.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
That
it's kind of
awesome.
just the pinnacle of like the best pitching in the Rays
And the best offense in the Braves.
The best offense in the Braves, because you have guys like Freddie Freeman, who maybe going to be MVP.
He is the MVP.
Acuna,
Absolutely.
who's a freaking god. And then you have the Rays, who just have a stacked pitching staff. I mean, Sammy mentioned that he would be confident with 4 starters going in Game 7. Yeah. I don't think really any team can say that.
Nope.
Other than the Rays. And other than those starting pitchers, they have the best bullpen I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, every single one of their guys are incredible. Yes. And they showed a really, really interesting graphic showing all the different arm slots of the Rays pitchers. And it's almost like a full clock. They have people going from 12 o'clock, people going from freaking 4 o'clock. Like, they have some.
And they all throw 100 miles
over the top.
Oh yeah,
and they all throw. But Oree, what I was saying is, so for diehard baseball fans like you and me, I think that the Rays Braves would be a fantastic series to watch. But I'm just talking about bringing interest into the sport and getting those borderline fans to be interested in a series with a storyline, because the Rays Braves series would be a really good series to watch for baseball, like diehard baseball fans like me and you. There are no storylines in that. There really aren't. And also, just to bring back something you said about how you think the publicity from the Astros scandal was good. I don't think it was good. I think it painted Rob Manfred in a very embarrassing way, and it made Major League Baseball look very embarrassing, that how the Astros barely got punished for what they did. I think in that scenario, I think if the Astros made the World Series, that would be maybe good publicity for baseball, but I don't think them cheating was, because I think it just painted Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred in a very embarrassing light.
No, well, I agree. I agree that the cheating scandal obviously painted them in a bad light, but because of how things have really transpired in the regular season and especially now in the postseason, it's gained a lot of traction because of how well they're doing post-scandal, right? And because of that, they're gaining a lot of popularity, and we're getting those borderline fans to tune in.
Yeah.
So I think the end outcome, although is obviously bad because of the cheating scandal, popularity-wise, speaking like how many people are really interested in the game, that has grown, and that's a good thing for baseball.
Yeah, with an Astros-Dodgers World Series, that's a storyline of storylines, and when it comes to viewership, bringing more casual fans in, storylines are what's going to do that. Think about the 2016 World Series. That was one of the most, I think it may have been the most viewed World Series of all time at that point. It still might be. And, the storylines. You have the Cubs with the 108-year drought, the Indians, the 2 longest droughts in American sports history, and they're trying to end it, facing off in the same series. It's storylines like that, and like the Dodgers Astros. That's what brings casual fans in, and you guys are absolutely right about that. But kind of rewinding it back to the Rays Astros series that's going on right now, as we talk, it's a 3-0 game. But as much as the bullpen's been very successful during the year, I worry a little bit for Tampa Bay, because there have been some guys that, have been good during the regular season, but come postseason have had some moments where it's been a little shaky. Luis Castillo, I think it was Game 6 yesterday. Yeah, Game 6. He relieves Snell. They bring him in a little bit early in kind of a jam, and he gives up a single to Springer, a double to Altuve, a single to Correa, allows a 4 spot in the 5th. Now, he gave up 4 runs all of the regular season. So it goes to show you that playoffs, you can look at the regular season all you want, and it's important to do that. But things are going to change in the playoffs, and the Rays are a team that aren't experienced, especially a lot of those guys coming out of the bullpen. It worries me a little bit heading later into this game. That's 3-0 right now. And, we'll see. When you guys are listening to this, you'll know the outcome. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, but let's move on now to the other side. Going now to the NLC as we have Braves vs. Dodgers. We are recording this after the Dodgers have moved it to Game 7. They win Game 6. Walker Buehler pitched an absolute gem.
Yeah.
He looked absolutely dominant. And then he comes out. Some people think a little bit too early. It ended up panning out okay. Sammy, what do you think about the decision to take out Buehler in the 7th?
Well, I was watching with my dad, and I was saying, why did they do that? Because you look immediately, they give up. I think they brought in Blake Trinan. They give up a run almost immediately. And while I was writing my notes for that game, I wasn't sure if we're going to record before or after that Game 6. And I was saying that the Braves would start to have success as soon as they got him out. And if I'm, the Dodgers, if I'm Dave Roberts, I want to keep him in as long as I can, because if you win today, there's going to be a little bit of time for him to get back to start for the World Series. You want to push him as long as you can, get as much out of him in that game, because luckily the Dodgers, Blake Trinan only gave up 1 run and it didn't get too bad, but that inning could have gotten out of control very easily. And Buehler's start wasn't perfect. And I want to talk a little bit about the Braves here, because in the 2nd inning, they had the bases loaded on 3 singles. No outs. And the Dodgers were already up at this point. I was like, they're going to score. This is the best offensive team in baseball. I think it's kind of right in that middle of their order, but their whole order is like the middle of the order. I mean, they don't score. And that goes to show you, how great Walker Buehler is, because he gets in a jam, but he's so clutch. He can get out of it. And there's one at bat where he was just pounding like a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Boom, 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 right down the middle of the plate. They can't touch it. I mean, he just so clutch. Not many pitchers, not many starters especially, can get in a jam like that in the 2nd inning and get out unscathed with no earned runs. Unscathed. Tough word pod. But, Buehler had a really good start. I do think that decision to pull him out was early, but it didn't hurt him too much. And, after Trinan, Baez came in. He was great. And then Kenley Jansen in this postseason has been phenomenal. So tomorrow's going to be an
Although, if you ask Dodgers fans what they feel like when Kenley Jansen comes into the game, if you're a good team and your closer comes into the game, you should feel confident. I mean, with all the past history with Aroldis Chapman in the playoffs, when he comes into a game, Yankee fans, maybe not in the playoffs now, but Yankee fans are, for the most part, confident. Your closer should give you confidence, and Kenley Jansen does not give Dodger fans confidence. If you look on Twitter or just look anywhere or talk to any Dodgers fans, they will tell you that their mindset is that they need to get at least 3 or 4 runs before Kenley Jansen comes into the game. And that's a scary place to be if you're a Dodgers fan. So, Sammy, I totally agree with you where the Dodgers need length out of their starting pitching, because their bullpen is prone to blowing.
Well, I mean, Kenley Jansen, you're painting him out to be like he's, some horror. I mean, he had a sub 3.50 ERA this year. Wasn't horrible.
I mean, that's not good for a closer. A closer should be dominant. A closer should be dominant. That's what closers are supposed to be.
Look,
I mean, for a closer to have a
we're talking about the Rays, Diego Castillo earlier. During the regular season, he had a sub 1 ERA, I believe. And during the playoffs, he gives up a 4 spot, which gives up that Game 6 to the Astros. Kenley Jansen, if you say a 3.33 ERA is bad, which, whatever.
I'm not saying it's bad.
But wait. If you're saying that's bad, just throw it out the window. I don't care, because this postseason, Game 5, Game 6, Kenley Jansen has gone in there and done the job for the Dodgers. I mean, they had a lead.
I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying Kenley Jansen does not give Dodger fans confidence. Kenley Jansen had the heart issue. He is not the same Kenley Jansen that he was 3 or 4 years ago.
That's fair.
He is 33, getting up there in age, and he is not. I mean, in baseball terms, his body is more like 35, 36. He is definitely up there. He is not the same Kenley Jansen, and I'm not saying that he can't get it done because he can. All I'm saying is that he does not have the Dodgers fans' confidence, and when the Dodgers fans see him come into the game, it's more like, oh shoot. Whereas it should be like maybe 3 years ago, let's see some cutters. You know,
I mean,
like as of now, from a Dodgers fan, I don't really know any Dodgers fans, so whatever. But I mean, when I see what he's done these past few games in the postseason, I'm confident. Forgetting what he's done in the regular season, he's 33, whatever. He's been doing well as of late, and I'm trusting him tomorrow, Game 7 of the NLCS, in the 9th inning if you have a lead, to protect it. That's what I'm saying.
I totally agree with Sammy and disagree with you, Jack, just because, yes, maybe he has been kind of underperforming during the regular season, but at this point, that doesn't freaking matter. Like, it doesn't matter at all.
You're not listening to my point.
No,
I'm not saying that he underperformed in the regular season. That's not what I'm saying.
You're saying he's not the same. That's what you're saying.
Yes, and I'm saying that he doesn't give Dodger fans confidence because he has blown games, and it's not an automatic.
This postseason, he's only been great, and he shut him out today. He shut him out yesterday. He's been balling. If I was a Dodger fan, I would be extremely confident. Because
they're not. That's what I'm saying.
His past performances have been great, and that's all that matters.
But they're not. That's what I'm saying. They haven't. They don't have confidence in him.
Why? Why would they not? Why would they not?
I don't know. I'm not a Dodger fan. I'm just saying if you go on Dodger Twitter,
who cares?
But that's what. Who cares? All I'm saying, Oree, is that they don't have confidence in Kenley Jansen. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I don't have confidence. I'm saying they don't have confidence.
We talked a lot about the Dodgers. Let's talk a little bit about the Braves. And I want to hear from you guys. Tomorrow, Game 7, what do they need to do? What's the most important thing for the Braves to do to win that game? Because, they're up 2-0. We were like, okay, maybe the Braves are going to make easy work at the Dodgers. Did not turn out that way. There's a Game 7. What's the most important thing they're going to do? They have to do.
The most important thing for the Braves is to score and take advantage of this Dodgers pitching because we don't know who's starting. All we know is Clayton Kershaw is going to pitch at some point, probably. And when that happens, you have to jump on him. You have to jump on whoever's coming out of that bullpen. They used a lot of pitchers throughout this series. They're not going to be all fully rested. Jansen has pitched the past 2 games, so even if he does pitch, he's not going to be as fully rested. Take advantage and score because you're not going to win off pitching and defense. That's not what this Brave team is about. They're about scoring lots of runs, scoring them fast, and then winning the game. And I think that's what you have to do. You have to just bank on your offense, bank on your big boy hitters, Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna. You really got to bank on them to win this game for you. And if they don't show up at the plate, you're not going to win. So bank on them to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, in this game, in Game 6, it wasn't like they didn't show up. I mean, they had some nice hits. They had 9 hits today, which is not bad. That should get you a few runs. They have to execute with runners in scoring position. It's outrageous to have the bases loaded, no outs in the 2nd inning, and get nothing out of that. And that's what's got to change. You got to be able to depend on everyone in that order, which they really have been able to do all year. But you have to depend on them when there's runners in scoring position because, if you can't depend on – that wasn't the only spot. There are a few other spots where you had runners on 2nd, runners on 3rd that you couldn't get home. And if you need to bunt maybe to move a guy over, if you need to play some small ball, do it. The Astros did that, I think, in Game 6 yesterday. It was beautiful. A bunt, and it set up a nice RBI single for, I think it was Correa. Whoever it was, they're going to have to get creative if they can't just knock in runs because if they get the bases loaded in the 2nd inning tomorrow, they're going to have to score, unlike Game 6.
Jack, what do you think the Braves got to do?
Well, I think they have to score, and I think they have to score early. And I think that they have to get the ball to their bullpen because they have a good bullpen. And if they can get the ball to the bullpen in like the 7th inning, 6th, 7th inning with the lead, I think they have a good chance of winning this game. But they have to put up runs early. And Or you mentioned earlier that Clayton Kershaw will probably come into this game. And I don't know about you guys, but I just had to mention the fact that it is so sad, in my opinion, so sad that Clayton Kershaw has had these struggles in the postseason because he truly is one of the greatest pitchers, if not
Of all time.
the greatest pitcher of our generation. I wouldn't say of all time, but
He's one of
I
the
would
best
say
of all time.
I'd say he's the greatest pitcher of our generation. I think
Yeah.
that's a very fair statement. If you look at his career numbers, I mean, MVP, 3-time Cy Young winner, Triple Crown, 8-time All-Star, 5-time ERA title winner, Gold Glove. He has a career 2.43 ERA, and people think that he's kind of like you kind of get the vibe that he's not one of the best pitchers in baseball anymore, and he's kind of aging.
He still is.
He had a 2.16 ERA this season. 2.16 ERA. Last season, he had a 3.03. He is not falling off. He has not fallen off one bit. He's 32. He still has a good amount of fight left in him. And if you look at his numbers, just like career-wise, stacking up, like maybe getting up there in wins, getting up there in strikeouts, he is at 175 wins. He's only 32. There's a really good chance he gets to 200 wins. He's at 2,526 strikeouts.
Yep.
I mean, he could get up there, maybe 2,700. I mean, he's getting up there, and I love watching him pitch. He truly is the greatest pitcher of our generation, and it just, man, I wish he could have done well in the postseason. I really do, and it's got to be mental for him at this point, and it just sucks to see.
Yeah, but he still has a chance if he plays really, really well in this Game 7. Can kind of lock it up.
The narrative, though. You can't change the narrative.
I disagree.
I
disagree.
I mean, no. This is what I think. He has this legacy of choking in the playoffs, but at the end of the day, one great postseason run won't completely change the narrative, but it won't make
It'll shift it.
It will shift it.
It will shift it for the time being, but if you look at his postseason, like, because people are going to look back, he has an ERA. He has a 4.31 ERA in the postseason. That's really bad, and that's what people are going to remember. People are never, no matter what he does, he could have a Bumgarner-like performance in the World Series if they make it. Not jinxing anything, if they make it, and he still would be remembered as a bad postseason pitcher.
See,
I don't think
disagree.
there's anything he could do to change the narrative.
Why do you disagree?
Well, I mean, because look, the Dodgers haven't won a World Series since 1988, and for, if you're like the Mariners or I don't know, some bad franchise, I don't know, you're like, whoa, that's pretty recent. But the Dodgers are a franchise with a history of success. Not quite as much as the Yankees, but after the Yankees, I'd put the Dodgers right up there as the second most successful baseball franchise of all time. And they haven't won since 1988. If Clayton Kershaw starts or, comes out of the bullpen tomorrow, pitches great, leads the Dodgers to win, and pitches great in the World Series, like Oree was saying, like maybe Bumgarner-like, not that, we'll see what happens. But if that happens, you can't erase the past, but I think he will be remembered in a much better light, and people will, it'll change his legacy and better his legacy for sure. I mean, it'll be the Dodgers' first World Series in a long, long time.
Yeah,
Over 30
but
years.
and I mean, Oree gives me crap for the Yankees not winning in 11 years. Think about the Dodgers, but no,
Dodgers fans.
I have to disagree with you on this one, Sammy. I don't think there's anything he can do to change the narrative. But let's move on now to a topic that I know we're all itching to get to: the Lakers winning the finals. But more importantly, what does this mean for the GOAT debate? Now, let me set the stage here.
Oh, God.
Sammy, die-hard Bulls fan, huge MJ supporter, thinks MJ is the GOAT. Oree, die-hard 76ers fan. I don't know why that's relevant, but he thinks that
Die-hard
LeBron James is the GOAT. Now, I thought MJ was the GOAT. Now,
oh no, Jack.
I'm not saying LeBron is the GOAT. I am not saying LeBron is the GOAT. But I am wavering, and more importantly, I think that it is 1,000% possible for LeBron to get 6 in his career. And Oree mentioned something when we were hitting the other day at his house. He brought up a point that really resonated with me when we were just talking, and it really was a good point. It might have been the best point Oree has ever made, and it wasn't even on our podcast.
That's a shame, isn't it?
What
was it?
He said so. So I said that I saw on Twitter that some MJ supporters were saying there's nothing LeBron could ever do to become the GOAT, which I obviously disagree with because LeBron can never go 6 for 6. But Oree said, isn't 6 rings, and obviously LeBron has 4 rings now. But I think if LeBron gets 5, that's enough. He's the GOAT, in my opinion. But I think the whole MJ debate is winning, and 5 is so close to 6 that you can't base it off of one more dub. But let's just say if LeBron gets to 6, which I think there's a very good chance he does, isn't 6 wins and 5 more appearances in the finals than MJ better than just 6 wins and 5 less appearances in the finals? And I agree with Oree on that, and that's a really good point. So, Oree, would you like to go first?
I'll go first here. And I think that this showed a lot about why LeBron is the GOAT. And the reason everyone talks about his losses in the finals, and you forget those teams were nowhere near the Bulls. But now that he has a superstar with him, he has a great team, a team that's not even as good as the Bulls. They are not as good as the Bulls were. But when he has a team that is great, he wins the NBA Finals, and he wins it pretty handily. I mean, Game 6 was no contest whatsoever. You know they had it in the bag. They should have won Game 5 if Danny Green wasn't trash. So LeBron James showed that he is an automatic dub when he has a great team around him, which is all that MJ did. So if you put that team around MJ, maybe they win the finals, maybe they don't. But the argument is that LeBron hasn't won as many finals as MJ or isn't as winning. But now he's shown that with a team around him, he can win and he will win. If he lost this finals, I would totally be moved to MJ. But this showed that with the correct team, with the correct roster, he will win the NBA Finals. Also, I'd like to bring up one more point. And when you're talking about the greatest of all time, this is on their whole career. And there is no person in this world that would take MJ for his whole career over LeBron for his whole career. There's no person in this world that would do that. Everyone would take LeBron. Everyone would take LeBron because you have 17 years of prime LeBron, basically. If you exclude like his first 1-2 years in the league, which he was pretty good. So you're getting basically 17 years of prime LeBron, and you're not going to get that from MJ. And LeBron's not done. He could go 20-plus years in his prime, and he'll probably retire still in his prime. So I don't know how you can pick MJ at this point. Like I really don't know what the argument is, but I'm sure Sammy will tell me.
I think having Anthony Davis by your side is much better than anyone Michael Jordan ever played with. I love Scottie Pippen. I met Scottie Pippen. I love him with all my heart. But when he went to Portland after the 98 Bulls broke up, he had a significant drop-off. He went from averaging 19 points per game with MJ to less than 15 without him. So that, LeBron couldn't really win on his own. I'm not saying Michael Jordan did it on his own, but
he didn't just have Scottie Pippen. He also had Dennis Rodman and Horace Grant.
I mean, he won championships before Rodman. He won 3 championships before Rodman.
Yeah, and that team was better than any team LeBron has ever played on. That's a fact.
Are you kidding me?
The team that three-peated. I mean, the Dwayne Wade, the Heat didn't three-peat. But can we just acknowledge what?
They didn't three-peat. LeBron.
Can we just acknowledge though?
Three-peat.
Can we just acknowledge the fact that Anthony Davis is 27 years old? It feels like he's been around for 50 years. He's not even in his prime. He's entering his prime this year. Because what most people consider to be their prime, what most people consider to be athletes' primes is like 27 to 32. I think that's fair.
I don't think anyone's prime 32 for basketball.
27 to 30.
Unless you're a robot 25 to 30. You're not in your prime.
25s are. I think 27, 28, 29 are the three most prime years, I guess.
But Anthony Davis, dude, I love this man. And LeBron, I think, did deserve the Finals MVP. I don't want to take that away from him because as much as I talk about MJ, I love LeBron. LeBron is awesome. He's one of the best. He's like the second best player of all time. And, that probably is
in your opinion.
Whatever, in my opinion. But with Anthony Davis, you gotta love the guy. He does everything. You see how much his game is improved since he's come into the NBA, and he's changed it. And I talk about this a lot. John Calipari, Kentucky products are so good. Anthony Davis is an example. A lot in this NBA final, a lot in the NBA playoffs that did well. Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo. I like to shift it to that because Kentucky makes good NBA products. So I don't know. I wanted to say that.
Okay.
You just had to throw that in there.
You get to plug your school, but I have a question, Sammy.
Yeah.
So you're talking about how Scottie Pippen's production fell off when he left MJ, right? When he left the Bulls. Well, what about having every single team you ever leave just suck after you leave them? Because that's what happens when LeBron leaves a team. When LeBron left the Heat, yes, okay, Bosh isn't the same, D-Wade isn't the same, whatever. Whatever you want to say, they don't have LeBron, and then they're not the same. They're a shell. When the Cavaliers when he left the Cavaliers, if he's on that team, they probably make the finals again. And when he isn't on that team is absolutely trash. They don't even make the freaking postseason. MJ would not have – he just doesn't have the ability to put a team on his back. LeBron has that ability. I mean, you have no examples of him ever putting a team on his back. LeBron has way more longevity. I mean,
you can't say that. You can't say there's no examples of him putting a team on his back.
Let me see see where he's played with people that aren't that good, and he's beaten teams that have more talent.
But that's not what putting a team on his back is.
Let me rephrase.
There are many examples of MJ averaging like 30 points, and putting up crazy numbers in the postseason, and that's putting his team on the back.
Okay. Well, carrying a team. I'll say it that way. Carrying a team. Michael Jordan has not carried a team. LeBron has. And when I say carrying, I mean taking a team that does not have it and gives them the win. He's the only reason they win.
When
has Michael Jordan done that? He plays with so much more talent.
He in the first part of his career, he took a Bulls franchise that was completely pathetic and put them on the map. That's what he did. I mean, he didn't win finals.
Put them on the map, but they didn't win. They didn't even make the finals. And then they got Scottie Pippen.
They made the Eastern Conference Finals twice. And then Scottie
and LeBron has made the freaking finals like 15 times.
Guys, we've had this discussion. Sammy, we have had this discussion many times on our podcast. Let's move on now, and let's go to our football picks. But before we do, let me tell you about our friends at Restaurant.com. Today's episode is brought to you by Restaurant.com. With Restaurant.com, you can save at thousands of restaurants across the country with just a few clicks. Their dining deals range from $5 to $100, never expire, and cost you a fraction of the face value. Dinner has never been easier with Restaurant.com. Used for dine-in, takeout, or delivery. Restaurant.com is offering our listeners 50% off their next purchase by going to www.restaurant.com/podcast. That's www.restaurant.com/podcast for 50% off your next purchase. Restaurant.com, the best deal every meal. So now let's go to our football picks. So I believe I am first
and then recap?
Yeah, let's recap first.
Yeah. You guys want to recap first?
Sure.
Okay, so let's recap the weekend first.
All right, so let's start with Raiders Chiefs because I think that was probably the biggest surprise this weekend. There were two pretty big surprises this weekend, but that was one of them. And the Raiders had been a team that was playing pretty well. I think they were 2-2 going into this game. And I actually had the Chiefs as my lock for our picks.
Sammy is not doing too good.
I mean, Mahomes and Carr were both doing really well, but the Chiefs' defense is just bad. Their secondary, I mean, do you know how many deep balls there were in that game? I was watching the highlight reel. just both sides, but especially the Raiders with Derek Carr. He was just, everything was a deep ball. They couldn't defend it. There were wide receivers wide open down the field, and it was just a matter of Carr having to, get it there. There was no pressure from that secondary, really bad. Chiefs have got to improve if they want to be a good team in that department. And, the Raiders have some stud receivers. That was another thing I kind of noticed. Ruggs, 118 yards, a touchdown. Aguilar, who's notorious for not being so great in Philadelphia, but he had 67 yards and a touchdown. And Darren Walker has honestly been a top 5 tight end in football this year, 48 yards and a touchdown. Raiders are a pretty good team, and a team I'm surprised is doing so well, but I'm glad to see them do so well and beat the Chiefs in a shootout game.
Yeah, I think that this game, first of all, really showed the flaws of the Chiefs. That, yes, they have an incredible offense that can score a lot of points, can control a game, but their defense will allow the other team to score a lot. And that was shown. And it's not like the Raiders have – they have a great offense, don't get me wrong. But it's not the Seahawks. And basically what I think this really showed is the Kansas City's flaws when it comes to the defense. Yep. And also – the ability of the Raiders to win shootouts. Because this is basically the only way the Raiders are going to win. Their defense is not going to stop anyone, really. Their defense is pretty trash. But what's not trash is this offense. And this offense beat the Chiefs in a shootout. And when you beat arguably the best offense in the league in a shootout, you're doing something right. I think this gives them a lot of confidence going, forward into the season. Do you think this kind of shifts the momentum for the Raiders, and you think they're a legit playoff team now, Jack?
Well, I don't know if it's fair to say they're a playoff team because they have shown inconsistency, and that all starts at their quarterback position with Derek Carr. We have seen Derek Carr look like an MVP candidate. We have also seen Derek Carr look like absolute garbage. However, the Raiders are 3-2. And it's going to be close. And I think it is completely fair to say that you think they're going to make the playoffs, especially coming off a high like the Chiefs win. However, let's speak of the Chiefs for a minute. They lose one game and they sign freaking Le'Veon Bell. That offense. Let me just list off all their weapons for a second. Le'Veon Bell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman. And
Patty Mahomes.
And guess who's throwing to them? Guess who's throwing to them? The best quarterback in football, Patrick Mahomes. It is incredible what that offense is doing. And their defense literally has to hold a team to less than 30 points a week, and they're going to win easy.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I kind of feel bad for Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he was doing pretty well, I think, for the Chiefs.
He was kind of declining, though.
Yes,
he's a rookie. He's still going to be the feature back, I think, in the offense.
Yeah, Bell is definitely a rental sort of guy,
I didn't really understand it. They wanted Bell because basically where Clyde Edwards-Helaire struggles is on the goal line, and Bell is a bigger back. He's more experienced. He's better on the goal line, but he's not necessarily a big bruiser. His style isn't really Derrick Henry-esque style.
Hesitation, wait for the hole to open up.
Exactly. It's that type of style that really works, but but that's not usually what you want when you're on the goal. Obviously, he's going to be better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire when it comes to on the goal, but I think that this team, for the Chiefs, it was smart to get Le'Veon because he was a great running back that just kind of fell into their lap. But, for the future, Sammy talked about Le'Veon kind of being a rental. I think what this team is missing in the running back position is just kind of a bruiser, You just want to have a Derrick Henry-esque type player that you can throw in there on first, second, third, and goal, and he'll get you in there. I don't know if Le'Veon can do that for them, but that's the role he's going to be put in. Do you think he'll be successful in that role?
Yeah.
I don't know, but one thing I do know is that it's very good for my fantasy team because I have Le'Veon Bell, and the other kid in my league who I think were the two best teams has Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So that's very good for me. But we spent a lot of time on this game, so I'm just going to briefly or Sammy, do you want to briefly run down the other games this weekend?
Well, I want to spend time on one more, and then maybe we could kind of spin through the others. Dolphins just made an absolute fool out of the 49ers last weekend, and I don't think any of us were expecting that. 49ers, defending NFC champs, weren't looking so great at the start of the year, but it's the Dolphins. We're all kind of like, come on. I mean, they'll win that game, right? No. And I was just watching this game. It was an absolute shocker. I mean, offensively, Ryan Fitzpatrick really looking good, hitting on deep throws, making smart decisions. And, defensively.
He's a game manager.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And
the game wrecker. What do you mean? Fitz magic, baby. I love it.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what I'm saying. Like, he's a guy. He's not gonna turn the ball over. He's not gonna make the flashy, crazy plays. But he's gonna give you a chance to win.
Well, I mean, he didn't just give him a chance to win. I mean,
he won that game.
I mean, the Dolphins put up 30 points in the first half against what last year was arguably the best team in the football. Probably not, but they were up there for sure. And I was talking about the secondary for the Chiefs, and I was really seeing a lot of the same issues for the 49ers. There were a lot of deep balls that, this isn't Patrick Mahomes we're talking about. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick, and he was really converting because there was enough space for him to do so, given by the secondary. And offensively for San Francisco, the O-line did not look good, and maybe that's just credit that I should be giving to the Miami D-line, which looked great. They were getting to Jimmy G all day, but when you have a bad O-line or they're struggling, you got to have a quarterback that's good under pressure. And Jimmy G is not that guy. He was just making bad throws, bad decisions, and that's why he got pulled. I think
he got benched.
Yeah, after the half, he got benched for Nick Mullins.
That's
embarrassing. Mullins didn't do so well either, but Dolphins might not be as bad as we think they are. They drafted Tua and everything. We thought that was going to be the big thing they needed this offseason, but they're a team that looks like they're trending in the right direction. I don't think this is a fluky win for the Dolphins. I think
neither.
They really took advantage of what was, maybe weaker 49ers team, but they played very well.
Yeah, they played really well.
Me neither.
I have a question for you guys. So, first of all, I think this delays seeing Tua, because if you saw Fitzpatrick really struggling, not really being able to function with this offense, they would just throw Tua in there. But with this team winning games, I think you can't bench Fitzpatrick, which I think is going to actually be ending up good for Tua, because
I agree.
When you have a quarterback sit for a full season, I mean, they are so much better off. They are so much better off.
Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes, yeah, he sat for a whole year. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre. There's just really a lot of examples of when a guy sits a full year, really learns the playbook, really learns the team, really learns the culture, he gets so much freaking better. And that's something you don't see when you had, Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones, and kind of with Dwayne Haskins. They were kind of just thrown into the fire, into a sense. But that's hopefully not what's going to happen. And I think Fitzpatrick is really helping that, be possible. But I want to ask you guys, where do the 49ers go right now? Because they just lost to the Dolphins. They just benched their quarterback that they paid a crap ton of money to. In Jimmy G
next week, I think.
I mean, they say he's starting, but where do
they
go?
do.
Are they
and obviously
spiral down or spiral up? Like, what's
obviously this team, the 49ers team, is ravaged with injuries right now. They are not the same 49ers team that won the NFC or the AFC championship. NFC championship last season. However, they still have their quarterback, and their quarterback not playing good is not a good sign. And Oree, I do agree with you, where I think it is beneficial for Tua to sit for maybe not a whole year, but maybe the majority of the year, learn the playbook. We've seen plenty of examples of that working out, like you said, with Aaron Rodgers. We've seen plenty of examples of it working out where they get thrown into the fire. I still think the jury's out on Sam Darnold, Dwayne Haskins, and Daniel Jones. But I agree with you. I think it is beneficial. But with the 49ers, I'm concerned and I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned because they are ravaged with injuries right now. However, I am concerned because your starting quarterback is not playing good, and he's the guy. He's your guy. If he's not playing good, that's
Nick
not a good
Mullins is
sign.
the only option.
Nick Mullins is the guy.
Question. I mean, there haven't been any reports of this or anything. Just kind of hypothetical. Bring Cat back
No,
to San Francisco?
no,
No.
no.
He
I mean,
doesn't
I wish Kaepernick would, but I don't think he's gonna ever play in the NFL again, which sucks.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think
a, that's
so
a
either.
shame. I mean, yeah, I think the 49ers are a good team. And, last year, why they're so good was that defense, which had a very rough day against the Dolphins, 30 points in the first half. I think they're going to be fine because defensively, they've had some pretty big injuries, but some of those guys will start, coming back in sooner than later. And for the most part, they're still the same team they were last year defensively. I think they'll be fine. And I think losing to the Dolphins like that will wake up a team like the 49ers because they know that they're good. They know that they won the NFC title last year. They have to be in a place where a loss like that fires them up instead of puts them down.
So
And
you
it's
think
going to be a big tell on the coaching. Can Shanahan, get this team fired up instead of letting things spiral out of control? I think he's the guy to do it. I have faith in this 49ers team, and I think we're going to see them back in the playoffs. And I just want to
so you think it's more of a positive for the Dolphins than a negative for the 49ers?
I think the Dolphins just played very well. I think it's obviously not a positive for the 49ers. I mean, it was, as a 49ers fan, that could be very tough to watch. That's just a tough game to, see as a fan. But I think they're going to start trending in the right direction now for good teams. And it'll be a tell if they're a good team. For good teams, that's the game where you're like, all right, we have to get it together because we can't be losing like that to that team. And I think they're going to do it. Just to run through some of these other games, real quick. We had the Giants and Cowboys. Dak Prescott with the heartbreaking injury. We're all hoping that he gets better soon. And if, I'm going to run through these games. If any of you guys want to, say anything about them, just, let me know. But Giants Cowboys, it was a very entertaining game, kind of a back and forth between the Giants and Cowboys. And the Cowboys came up on top. Andy Dalton was really good on that last drive, made some nice throws.
You won him that game.
Yeah, really. And
Do you think Dak does that?
I don't think Dak does that because I
agree.
think Dalton honestly might have a stronger arm than Dak does. And some of those tight throws, like 20, 30 yards downfield, which he was making in that last drive down the sideline, even on some of them, those are those are throws good quarterbacks can make. And Dak's a great quarterback in the short game. But when it comes to, expanding it, he's never been a guy that's good at the deep ball. And maybe that's something Andy Dalton can bring to the table. But yeah, Cowboys win that with a game-winning field goal. Sorry, Jack. The Giants are just really bad. A crazy game. Vikings, Seahawks. Vikings jump out on top. Kirk Cousins is looking good. The offense is looking good. The defense is shutting down the Seahawks. But in the third quarter, within a matter of 2 minutes, the Seahawks put up 3 touchdowns thanks to Kirk Cousins' fumble, Kirk Cousins' interception. And then the Seahawks end up finishing on top after what was a crazy finish. Russell Wilson, my man, best quarterback in the league, leading them to another win, 5-0 for the Seahawks, best team in football as of now. And the Chargers and Saints, another exciting game. Saints won 30-27. Herbert played great again, but Drew Brees, a slobby win for the Saints, but kind of kept the Saints on track because that's a team that has been struggling here early on. So those are kind of our games we wanted to highlight. And now, before we move on to our picks, both of you guys play Among Us, right? Or have played Among Us? Know what Among Us is?
I have. I know what it is.
I refuse.
You refuse to play
have
Among Us. But we all know the concept,
We
what it
gotta
is.
we gotta get a team Among Us game going soon. That would be so fun.
That would be great. But, we all kind of know what Among Us is. It's this huge trend. Obviously there's like an imposter. And we are going to try and figure out right now, out of the teams that are currently seated in the playoffs, who is the imposter? and we all have kind of our picks of who it is. Jack, who?
Wait. Before you do that, because of the new formatting for the NFL, do you want to just put out who is in the playoffs right now?
Yeah. Let me just pull that up real quick because the NFL this offseason made the change. Usually, or in the past, it had been 6 teams, 4 division winners, 2 wild cards, and they have now expanded that to 3 wild cards. Also the division winners. So in the AFC, we got the Titans, Steelers, Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Raiders, and Browns. In the NFC, we have Seahawks, Packers, Saints, Cowboys, Rams, Bears, Cardinals. Now, we have 14 teams among each conference. Who is the imposter? Jack, go first. Who is it?
Well, I mean, pretty much any team from the NFC East that is currently seated in the playoffs, I think is fair to say. I think the Bears are not a 4-1 team.
I thought
He
you were
was
about to say
happy.
that.
I think
Bro.
I think they're a
I
playoff
mean,
team.
I'm
not
actually
gonna say they're
looking.
the
Wait,
imposter because I think they're the playoff team. However,
I'm looking. You said they're not a 4. They are. Their record is 4-1.
He checked.
Sammy, you know we're not doing this. I think that
I'm just saying.
their defense is legit. However, how much can you trust them in the playoffs? Really, with their all that? How much can you trust Nick Foles? Or
I mean, we're not talking about in the playoffs. We're just talking about what teams are going to make it.
no, I know, but I'm saying just in general in big moments. And I know Nick Foles has shined in big moments. However, he's not in Philadelphia anymore. But yeah, really, just I mean, any team from the NFC East, whether it's the Eagles or the Cowboys, either of those 2 teams, because those are the only 2 teams that actually have a legitimate shot of making the playoffs from the NFC East.
Yep.
I don't think either of those teams belong, especially with the injury to Dak. I do think Andy Dalton is the best backup in the NFL. However, he's still a backup, and I don't think either of those teams have the means to succeed in a playoff situation.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'll go first here, and just because I want you kind of focus in on these Bears teams because I'm done with these people, aka Sammy, riding high on this 4-1 record.
God, here we go. I'm
I'm
gonna grab my popcorn and enjoy
I'm
this.
putting the
Oh, boy.
foot down here because I'm done with this. All right.
Oh no.
Done.
First of all, your wins are not legitimate. Most of them are not legitimate. But I will say you won the games. Okay, you're 4-1. But this team, the defense is good, right?
Yep.
It's not the best in the NFL. It's not. I don't think it is.
It's elite.
It's elite. It's an elite defense, I agree. But this offense with Nick Foles at the helms is nothing close to the word explosive. They're not even close to it. And with the teams that they're going to have to play in their division, the Packers, who have one of, if not the most explosive offense in the league, they're never going to beat a team like the Packers. And the Lions and the Vikings, at this point, I just don't think the Bears are that good of a team because they don't have an offense. Offense wins you games, defense wins you championships, but you have to win games to get there. And I don't think the Bears will be able to do that.
That is a fantastic quote. I just got to say, I love that.
Well, there you go.
Well, look.
There you go. Quote me on that one because
Although the one thing I will say, in defense of Sammy, you are what your record says you are, and they're 4-1.
They are.
Whether it's a legitimate 4-1 or a lucky 4-1, they are 4-1, and you got to give them credit for that.
You just said they weren't 4-1. Like maybe.
I said I don't think that they are as good as a 4-1 team should be, but I think at the end of the day, they're 4-1. You got to give them credit for that.
I mean, the Bears. You talk about the offense, which it's not explosive, but we saw it against the Buccaneers, which isn't an elite defense, but is a solid, above average defense in the league. And they, put up 20 points on them, which isn't great, but their defense is good enough to win games like that. And that defense shut down a very good and supposedly explosive Buccaneers offense. And the Bears aren't going to win the rest of their games. No shot. But when you're 4-1 and you have a defense that's good enough to shut teams down, I'm confident that, you can win games. I mean, our upcoming schedule, Panthers, Panthers have been playing well, but once, our defense is good enough to shut them down. Rams, maybe a loss, but, I mean, these are all going to be games that we're going to stay in. Even our one loss against the Colts, we only gave up 19 points. And, we scored 11, which is an issue. But I think the offense is trending in the right direction. Look, the best it had consistently on a whole game basis against the Buccaneers. Things are looking in the right direction offensively. And if your defense can keep you under 25 points, which it will, the Bears are going to be able to win a lot of these last few games. Not few, there's still a lot left, but I think the Bears can easily finish 10-6 because, just doing the math, 11 games left. They could basically go 6-5 the rest of the year and be locked for a playoff spot. And that's why I think they're not the imposter. I'm going to actually agree with Jack. I think it's going to be the Cowboys. Or, as of now, Cowboys or Eagles or even the football team, they could find a way. Whoever is representing the NFC East in the playoffs is the imposter because that division should be sent to
relegation.
To high school football. I don't know. They're so bad that they should be banned. NFC East should be banned. It's just embarrassing that we might have a sub 500 team in the playoffs, a division winner. We rarely have 8-8 teams as wild cards. It's
Sammy,
embarrassingly bad.
I feel like you're disappointed on a personal level. Like you're offended. I'm
offended. It's like, what? This isn't, I don't know the other football leagues. This is the NFL. Every division should have some good teams, and the NFC East just doesn't. It's so bad. Whoever's representing that division is hands down the imposter. The Cowboys right now are sitting in the playoff spot, sitting at 2-3. 2-3. I am very disappointed. You're right, Jack. I'm very disappointed.
Very disappointed. But let's make our football picks now.
Let's do it.
So I have the first pick in the Saturday, October 7th, Chatter from the Cheapseats football pick draft. And with the first pick in the draft for my upset, I will be taking... this is going to throw you off because these are head games. This is head games that I play. It's psychological warfare that I have to play.
All right.
Now, Oree, I kind of hinted that I was going to take football team over the Giants. I can't do that. I'm a Giants fan. I'm a Giants fan at heart. I think the Giants will win this game. I don't want them to win. I want Trevor Lawrence, but I think they will. I'm going to give you a curveball here. I have the Bears over the Panthers.
Hey.
Now, Sammy, I thought there's a chance you could pick this game. That's why I used this psychological warfare. It looks like you did not. I still think it's a solid pick. The Bears are dogs against the Panthers. However, I think the Bears are a better team than the Panthers. And even Vegas is disrespecting the Bears.
Nope, they're correct, as always.
Okay. Jack's right. Jack's a genius.
I am a genius. You heard it here first, folks.
All right. I guess I'll go with my upset pick. And I actually picked the 49ers because I was talking about how I think, they're a good team with a good coach that can take a loss like the one against the Dolphins and turn it into something good. And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. They're playing a great team in the Rams, but a team that they handled pretty well last year, and a team that I think they're going to handle well again. I think last week was a learning experience, and I think now they're facing a good team. They're going to perform. 49ers are going to get back on track this week with a win.
All right, that's fair. I have the Washington football team, baby. And yes, they don't have a quarterback, but I think that the main...
Who's starting? Alex Smith?
No, it's going to be Kyle Allen. You can't start. You can't start.
You guys didn't know? Okay, Kyle Allen, whoever it is.
Now, Oree, before you rip into the Giants almost beat a Cowboy team that
sucks.
The Cowboys suck.
Let me finish. Has a fair amount of talent.
We've been
a better team than the Washington football team. Now, the Giants have shown good things. They have shown good things. They're not like the Jets. Like, Daniel Jones has shown flashes. their defense has looked very good considering what their expectation was going into the year. So I don't think this is the right pick to make, Oree. I really
Well,
don't.
listen, I'm going to back it up here, and this is why. With the not the Ravens, the Washington football team, with this defense, I think that they're going to step up. Daniel Jones, last time I checked, his middle name was Trash, so he's not that good, all right? He's pretty bad. And
Oree analysis. He's not that good.
yeah, he's not. He can't beat a good defense. And I'm not saying that the Washington football team's defense is good, but this defensive line will get pressure, and Daniel Jones can't handle pressure.
Last time I checked, Daniel Jones put up like 4 touchdowns the last time he played the Washington football team.
Well, guess what? Times are changing. Ron Rivera is going to put his foot down and not lose this game.
Last time I checked, Daniel Jones leads the league in fumbles since he came into the league.
There you go.
Fumbles, schmumbles.
With a good D line, are you Chase Young?
Chase Young is going to wreck him
tomorrow.
We'll see. We will see. We will see what happens. But I mean, at the end of the day, what we truly have to remember going into the football pick segment is that I have started off the year strong. I am currently 6-4, which isn't great, but
Oree starting there.
I'm
not awful.
8-2. What are you
Oree
talking
is
about?
8-2.
I started strong.
Oree is 8-2. Oree is on fire. I started off strong. I'm within striking distance of Oree this weekend, which is really all you can ask for.
Look, however, start. I'll be the first.
However, Sammy is 5-4.
Look,
Sammy, it is rough.
Because
me and Oree are both 5-0 on locks. Sammy is 3-2. You cannot be 3-2 on locks.
Absolutely selling. The Chiefs lost to the Raiders, and the Eagles lost to the football team. What's this? I'm just.
Sammy can make it up though, because he does have the Broncos over the Patriots.
Yes. This is a 3-point week for me because I forgot to mention, but last week my upset pick was the Broncos over the Patriots. Because of COVID, that got postponed to this week. So now I have a chance to get 3 wins this week. And that could be huge as I'm in a little bit of a slump right now. But my lock pick for this week, I'm going to have to take the Vikings.
Wait, Sammy, have you made your upset pick?
Yeah, I made
you got the 49ers.
Yeah, and so my lock pick is the Vikings over the Falcons. The Vikings lost to the Seahawks, but they played very well. They got on board early, and they did lose that game late. But I think, they played better than I thought they were going to play against a great Seahawks team. And the Falcons, they're going to have a new coach. They aren't a good team in the slightest. It should be a good game for Vikings fans to watch, and it should be a game where the Vikings, a pretty good team, should be able to get back on track, sort of like the 49ers, but Falcons are bad. Vikings impressed last week. Vikings are my lock.
All right. Good pick. I am picking here, not necessarily based on the matchup, but based on the team I'm picking for, and that's the Green Bay Packers. I have them as my lock, and every single time I've chosen them, I've been correct, whether it's as an upset or as a lock, and the reason is I believe this team right now is the best team in the NFL. I think they have the best performing quarterback in the league right now. I think they have the most explosive offense. I think they have a decent enough defense that can hold a team to maybe 25 points, and then Aaron Rodgers can score 36 a game. I mean, that's what he's been doing. So I have the Packers as my lock, not necessarily because I don't believe in the Bucs, and I think the Packers are a much better team than the Bucs, but because I just am really in love with this Packers team right now.
I think it's fair. And my lock pick might cause a little bit of a reaction. I have the Dolphins over the Jets because I have a very sound strategy of just picking whoever the Jets are playing.
I like that strategy too.
Let's move on now, though, to the last segment of the night, Jack's dumb Twitter takes. Now, Sammy teased this segment earlier. Yeah, I'm having a good one today. So, Blake Bortles has just been cut by the Denver Broncos. Yeah, so this is a tweet from Andrew Hall. He's got that check mark on Twitter that everyone's crazy about from 2015.
Okay.
Saying, I'm buying all the Blake Bortles stock, every last bit. Well, I think that would be a bad purchase, Andrew. Blake Bortles
Bro.
really hasn't panned out, and I liked Blake.
My
Bortles.
man would be broke.
I like. He has a cool name. Blake
He's going
Bortles is a
under.
cool name, but yeah, that guy should not be working on Wall Street.
Oh yeah, no, he's definitely going under right now. He is not a very smart business decision. I thought that was probably after that great year, right? The Jaguars had where everyone was like, Jaguars are, they almost got to the Super Bowl, but no. That team did not turn out, and now they're one of the worst in the NFL. Blake Bortles didn't pan out. Not a dumb Twitter take. I get that's the segment. So,
well, that will do it for us today. Oree, any last words?
I don't think I have any last words other than enjoy yourself. Read a book or something. I've been reading books lately. It's a great
Read a book. Wow.
Read a book, boys.
Oree.
Don't listen to the podcast. Read a book.
Now,
you
listen to the
listen
podcast first, guys. Come on.
You do multitask. It can be done.
Yeah, but last words. By the time you guys will be listening to this, you will know the result of Game 7. So that's kind of exciting. I'm watching right now. It's still 3-0. Astros had kind of a beginning, but the Rays are going to the bullpen. That's where we are. But another fun episode. Always fun, talking with sports with you guys, and go Bears. And I'll see you guys next time.
I don't like the Bears, so I'm not going to say go Bears. But great episode as always. We really appreciate you guys. Chatter from the Cheapseats, or chatter_Cheapseats pod is our Instagram. Chatter from the Cheapseats is our YouTube. Chatter_Cheapseats pod is also our TikTok. And please, please, please leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. That really helps us out. But see you guys next time on Chatter from the Cheapseats. Oree, take us out.
Bye.